I know a lot of times when we talk about femininity, this softness, this energy, it comes across as sometimes as being a pushover, or the lines get blurred from what it actually is. And so I definitely wanted to cover that. So how we can still be soft but still get the outcomes that we desire, because that's the point of all of this anyway, right? So when you think about what softness really means, many women fear being soft because it comes across sometimes as being a pushover or weak, or as if you could be easily taken advantage of, and we not doing that, okay? True femininity and softness is a controlled state of being. It's about being calm, receptive, and graceful without losing your strength. Okay, I'll say that part again. True feminine softness is a controlled state of being. It's about being calm, receptive, and graceful without losing your strength. Okay, now keep that in mind. We're going to go dive deeper into what we mean by strength, and then also being receptive to being better, improving yourself, and then also to those around us, but more specifically, if you have a husband or a man in the household, being receptive to the input that they're giving, and then also, you know, the people that are in your circle, because being receptive doesn't necessarily mean you have to be receptive to everybody, but also having that discernment to know who can I trust to take advice from, to listen to, who can I trust to pour into me, and pour into me in a positive way that is to the level and the standard of who I am asking God to be, or who God desires for me to be, okay? A woman can be soft and still have boundaries, confidence, and self-respect, okay? So softness doesn't mean that you neglect your self-respect. It doesn't mean that you don't have confidence, okay? And it definitely doesn't mean that you lose your boundaries, because I'm sure that every single one of us on this call, if at some point in time had a lack of boundaries, or some areas in our lives where we could have strengthened our boundaries to have better outcomes. So don't, make sure that even when you're moving in your softness, that you are intentional about having those boundaries, making sure that that confidence is still there, which we talked about that, and then also self-respect, okay? Now let me ask you guys a question for this. Do you believe that being soft can be powerful? And why or why not? If anybody wants to answer that question, in your opinion.
I feel like it is a bit.
Say,
And the reason
say
why
that
I say
again,
that is
Elena. You
because
broke up just a little bit.
I I feel like it would be a good thing, because your delivery is everything. And if
Mm-hmm.
you're sitting up there trying to deliver a message and you're bickering or arguing or whatnot, you're not hearing anything. So you're
Mm-hmm.
not able to, get your point across. If you
Perfect.
go at the matter with being respectful with a low tone, we're getting somewhere. We're going to figure out what the problem is and try to rectify it. So, yeah.
Perfect. I love that response, Elena. And not only are you not hearing, but the other person isn't hearing either. You know, I don't know how many times that, we've been in situations and somebody will say something a certain way, and all of a sudden the eyebrows go up, and it's like nothing after that we heard. It's immediately defense mode, nothing after that. Now, of course, we are working to make sure that we don't get triggered as easy, and that we can work through conflict in a healthy way, especially with those that we're in relationships with, whether it be a romantic relationship or, family, friends, and things like that. But the natural instinct, a lot of times when things are said a certain way, is like, you know, the little smoke start coming out the ears. Did anybody else have a response for that they wanted to share?
Um, I think it's powerful, but more from like a humility aspect.
Okay.
Like if you, I don't know, I'm trying to think of an example. Never mind. I'll come back.
Humility aspect. It may come to you as we keep going, but I like that too. All right. So let's keep going. So let's dive into softness and what it is not. Okay. Number one, softness is not being a doormat. okay? It is not being a doormat. It's not allowing people to mistreat you without consequences. It is not a lack of boundaries, okay? I can't say that enough. It is not a lack of boundaries. Boundaries are needed in order for you to have the life that you desire, to get your desired outcome, to make sure that you aren't being taken advantage of. And I would say, and not used, but hey, how many times are we like, Lord, use me? And then the Lord started using you. And you're like, Lord, where are you? You're like, hey, you said you wanted to be used. I'm using you. What you mean? So keep those boundaries in place. All right. Number 2, being overly passive. Okay? Overly passive in the sense that you are avoiding making decisions. You just kind of like let life happen instead of taking charge, or fearing that leadership isn't true femininity. Okay? Now, when I say that, I say that with caution. I'll say that. All right? Because if you are in a marriage or a situation where you have a man that is leading you, your taking charge looks differently. Okay, your taking charge doesn't mean you're running the household, because that's not your job. And we'll go into that a little bit deeper, because like I told you, I've been doing my research and my reading, and biblically, if there's a man there, you taking charge, that's not your job. It's not your job. Okay. But then that also comes into the point of when we have people that we're in a relationship with, that we are deciding to move forward in marriage with, as my girl Tisha is, hey, making sure that we are choosing the right man to lead us. Of course, they choose us, but we are accepting the invite to be in covenant with the people that we can trust to lead us, our families, and things like that. So when it comes to letting them lead, we can lead, because hey, we know, we may not agree with everything, but we are saying, okay, you got it. You might give a little eyebrow if you give a suggestion and they ain't listen to you, and you might just, but okay. Praise the Lord. Okay, number 3. Softness is not always seeking approval. Okay, softness does not mean you're constantly molding yourself to please others while neglecting your own needs. Okay, I'm gonna read that one again. Softness is not always seeking approval. Softness does not mean that you're constantly molding yourself to please others while neglecting your own needs. We're going to dive deeper in some things, not necessarily in this workshop, but in some things that we're going to cover later, so that we know what our roles are in life, in society, and then we can have some backing up of it from the Bible as well, so y'all can know I'm not just pulling this out because it sounds good, all right? It's certain things and responsibilities that we have, and those things may or may not, be approved from people, or they might be like, oh, I love it when you do this, but it's like, hey, this is my role, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And it's not necessarily just being a people pleaser. Like, well, they want to do this, so I'm going to do this. Or they want to do that, so I'm going to do that. And the key point in that is while neglecting your own needs. There are certain things that we need, okay? And, like y'all were telling me, sleep, time where we can go exercise, take care of ourselves. When I say own needs, I'm not talking about own needs like the people on TikTok. So it's like, I just need to be happy, and I wasn't happy, so I left my 30-year marriage because I wasn't happy. I'm like, girl, what? Do you know how hard it is to to be out here in a single world and find somebody that's compatible, but also a good person, a good man that can pour it? Like, what? You did what? No, so that's not what I mean by own needs. I mean about real needs, taking care of yourself. And we're going to dive deeper in that one as well. And last but not least, it does not mean avoiding conflict at all costs, okay? Conflict can be handled with grace and can be a tool for deeper connection and respect. And which is why we have our chats about emotional intelligence and things like that, okay? So It doesn't mean, okay, let me just be quiet. I don't want to start nothing, so let me just be quiet. Which I'm even guilty of doing that too. It's like, all right, let me just be quiet. Let me just be quiet. But it sometimes certain conversations need to be had. Sometimes certain things need to be discussed or talked about. But handling it with grace, handling those situations where you're not attacking anybody, and handle it in a way that it comes to your desired outcome. Because a lot of times we'll want to say something so bad, we'll want to say it because we feel some kind of way, and they made you feel some kind of way. But it's like, if you take out the feelings, right, the emotional part, the part that is fleeting, because emotions are fleeting. You can be happy now, and 2 minutes from now you could be angry, and then 2 minutes from then you could be excited again, right? If you take away that emotional part, does it matter? If it doesn't matter, yeah, avoid the conflict. Avoid the conflict. Now, if it's something that may be minute, that could potentially lead to something bigger, or you say, okay, this keeps happening, it's not that big of a deal, but I can see this potentially turning into something bigger, absolutely, have the conversation, right? Okay? Now we're gonna go to what softness is. We just finished what softness is not. And we said softness is not being a doormat. Softness is not being overly passive. Softness is not always seeking approval. Softness is not avoiding conflict at all costs. Let's go to what softness is. Softness is self-control and emotional mastery. Wow. Just said that. A soft woman does not let every situation move her into emotional chaos. Everything that happens shouldn't leave you in a whirlwind. I had this young lady that I've been talking to for the last couple weeks, and I was just like, man, like everything just is like, woo, everything that happened, it's like, you drop your chapstick on the floor, it's like, oh my gosh. Somebody step on your toe, oh my gosh. I'm like, whoa, like, but I had to take the opportunity to not judge her, but to make sure that I'm looking within myself, and that I'm not being over here like, oh my goodness, she tripping, and then turning my back and being like, oh my gosh, you know, being the same thing that I just was like raising the eyebrow for talking to this young lady. You know what I mean? So take those situations, even when you are dealing with people outside of you, to kind of self-reflect and be like, how can I be better? Okay. If it gets to the point, how can I pour to this person to add value? And then also, how can I make sure that I'm better for myself and taking this opportunity to grow and learn? Okay. Self-control and emotional mastery, excuse me. Being calm and intentional about how you respond to situations. We talked about that before when we talked about our emotional intelligence. Being calm, taking a breath, taking 2 seconds. Your initial response, it may not always be the first one, because the initial one might be like the eyebrow raise, the bucking of shoulders. Take a second. Remember, we'll go through that one again just because it's been coming up so much in our calls. But looking and being like, okay, what's the desired outcome of this situation? Do I want this person to just stop talking? Do I want us to go back to how we were, to being friends? Or do I want us to go back to how we were, in a relationship? Maybe you share something with your significant other and it kind of shifted gears, and they're kind of feeling like you're feeling attacked. Okay, if my desired outcome is peace with my partner and being happy and feeling loved, me going off is not going to get me to my desired outcome. So going back through that whole outline of what to do, okay? Proverbs 31:26 says, she opened her mouth with wisdom, and her tongue is a law of kindness. So making sure that you're always speaking with kindness, okay? And remembering that can also kind of help you to see, is it worth saying? If it's not saying it, should I say it differently? All right. If you move in love and your actions and the way you talk are with love, it'll shift the dynamic of your relationships as a whole. Okay. All right. Softness is power under control. It's not weakness. I'll say that one again. Underline that one. Softness is power under control. It's not weakness. It's a decision to respond with wisdom rather than to react emotionally. I kind of want y'all to write that one directly. Let me read it one more time. Softness is power under control. It's not weakness. It's the decision to respond with wisdom rather than to react emotionally. Key things that stick out on that one. Decision, decide. All right? If you're just moving off of impulse, you don't even have the opportunity to decide. You're just moving. So to decide and responding with wisdom. So you're responding rather than reacting. Responding with wisdom rather than reacting emotionally. I love that one. Number 2, being receptive and open. Softness is being open to receiving, whether it's love, kindness, or correction. Sometimes people show us love by correcting us. Sometimes you are not gonna like if that friend is like, hey girl, Tisha, you messing up. But if it's somebody that you chose to be in your life that you trust, sometimes you might be like, yeah, I don't know what they're talking about. But allowing yourself the openness to say, hey, am I not being the person that I said that I was trying to be? Am I not being who God has called me to be? Is this the point where is this opportunity for me to be better? And if it is, let me be receptive to that correction instead of being defensive because it hurt my feelings and it made me feel like I'm not good enough. Okay? Because that's normally what it comes down to. It's like, they don't think I'm doing this and I'm doing that. How dare them correct me on this? Right? A feminine woman does not have to be defensive. You don't have to have a defensive posture all the time. Okay? She allows people to pour into her. And a lot of times, I can say even with myself, with having the baby and things like that, it's like, oh, I just feel like I have to do this and I have to do that. And it's like, well, people are available to pour into you, but are you allowing it? If somebody say, hey, let me watch Baby Lobo, and you're like, oh no, I want nobody around me. Well, I ain't gonna lay it right around my baby, you know what I'm saying? But just being open and saying, you know what? I do need a second, you know? Or Micah comes in, he's like, hey, you're tired. You're not going to the gym today. I'm like, no, wait, like, I gotta get this. That's a moment I have to be receptive. No, I feel like I need to do A, B, and C, and D. I feel like every time my baby says, I need to be right there. But I'm going to be receptive to what y'all poured in me and told me that I need to chill out, take a second. I'm going to be receptive to him saying, hey, you was tired, sleep. Go get some coffee. Instead of being in that whirlwind, no, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to do this, I got to do that, right? Okay. The next one is moving through life with grace and ease. It doesn't mean that life is easy. We all know that. It means that you carry yourself in a way that attracts solutions instead of stress. Life isn't easy. We all know that. But go ahead, Tisha.
I was like, can you say that last piece that you said one more time?
Yes. It says, move in a way that attracts solutions instead of stress. Life isn't easy. It doesn't mean you carry yourself in a way. It just means that you carry yourself in a way that attracts solutions instead of stress. Okay? And that's a big one. A lot of times when we're feeling overwhelmed, it's easy to be in our overwhelmedness or in our anger or in our whatever it is. But taking a step back and say, okay, I'm stressed out. Ooh. How can I make this better? Even if it's just a little bit better. What can I do to attract solutions? Can I attract solutions by asking for help? Say it again. It's easy to snap instead of just... Yes. Akia said it's easy to snap instead of addressing the root cause. Absolutely. And then that's why we take that second and we go through the emotional intelligence model, because it'd be like, the first instinct is not always the best. And if it doesn't give a solution to the problem, now you have all of this bad energy within yourself and also connected to potentially somebody else, and you still don't have a solution to the problem. So now you're stressing about what you was already stressing over. Now there's an added stress because of the tension that came from the stress. So, and you're stressing that you're stressing. Let's see, that has caused many problems, especially within my family members. Yeah. And another thing that we have to remember too is God gives us grace. And so a lot of times we have to give grace to other people as well, because they are not on the same track as we are. They are not being intentional about pouring into themselves. They're not showing up on the femininity workshops every Saturday. They're not fasting to not only help to get their body together and get into that cellular repair to make sure that they stay healthy, long, and live long, healthy lives, and also get that mental clarity that comes from it. They are not being consistent with saying active. They're not, and it doesn't mean that they're beneath us or anything like that. It just means they haven't taken the steps necessary to be intentional about that self-improvement. So certain things that you're like, well, they didn't have to say it like that. You took the femininity course about emotional intelligence and how to respond. They didn't. So now you're held accountable because you know better, right? Okay. What do we say? We say a feminine woman does not have a defensive posture all the time. She allows people to pour into her, move into life with grace. Okay, I already went to that one. Think about a difference between a woman who is frantic and aggressive versus one who is calm and graceful under pressure. Okay? Think about that. In any situation, whether it be something goes wrong out of nowhere, that aggressive and franticness is not going to attract your desired outcome most of the time. At the most, it may give you a temporary fix where you just said a little snapped off at somebody and you feel good. But then because we are intentional about being better, you're probably going to think about it later and be like, dang, I shouldn't have said that, you know? Visual would be chaos versus order. What do you mean by that, Akia? Come off real quick, if you
So
can.
there was this, I forgot what video I was watching, but it said something about like in situations where you're going through a lot of chaos, you're looking like, oh, I just want peace